My name is Casper van Erp. I am from the RVA, the Dutch Accreditation Council. I've been with RVA since '95, and I'm a lead assessor for them in the fields of management system certification, verification and validation, and product certification. And I'm the current EACC chair, yes.
Okay, so my name is Wolfram Hartmann. Well, one thing, I'm representing the German accreditation body, DAX. I'm with the accreditation for now 15 years, starting off more or less in the food sector, being lead assessor for several of the 17,000 standards myself, and I'm the vice chair of the EACC.
CC is one of the technical committees of the EA that talks about all subjects related to certification. Could be certification of persons, certification of management systems, as well as certification of products, processes, and persons, and products, processes, and services. Recently has also been involved in the validation and verification of greenhouse gas verifications. We meet twice a year, I should say. And I guess another important point to say is that we have 5 standing committees at the moment: a working group environment, a working group food, a networking group ETS, a working group ICTDS, and very recently a working group validation and verification 17029.
So working group 17029 is the latest addition to the setup of the CC, as 17029, as it stands today, is still a bit of a blank sheet. So there's quite a lot of experience with many of our member bodies with emission trading. So for 10 years or what now, we've got 14065 and the whole series of 14,000 standards that play a part in that. But the broader spectrum of applications under this level 3 standard is to be explored. So that means we've got certain items that lend themselves for transfer from other standards, like 17065 we had previously with the so-called environmental product declarations for building materials, that will move into 17029. There's all sorts of sustainability claims that will be explored underneath that, maybe even financial claims. So there's quite a world to explore, if one might say, and this working group certainly has got some work at hand in the near future. So right now, settling the dust, we're a bit not just waiting, hopefully not just waiting for things to happen, but preparing ourselves. This directive by the EU opens up the opportunity for the member states to use accredited conformity assessment, in that case verification bodies, for the means of confirmation of the corporate sustainability reports that are mandatory for certain companies, bit by bit, increasing the number of companies that need to confirm such a report. And well, matter of fact, the member states have to decide on whether they open up this opportunity, and EA and its stakeholders certainly strive to make heard that there is a value in accredited conformity assessment. We know that, we are convinced of that, that's the purpose of EA, and therefore we just know that accredited conformity assessment will help a good deal, specifically when you're adding up the numbers, and probably the financial auditors, as they are put as the first option in the CSRD, need complementary action and more capacity to serve industry.
And potentially certain competencies that we in the world of accredited verification bodies have been working with a little bit more than they in the past.
Yeah, so one must admit that the companies we are talking about, like our conformity assessment bodies, know industry, know the players, know the companies quite well with their audits under other standards, so they are well aware of the industry and its needs.
And have the knowledge of the technical problems and challenges that these companies face and so therefore are able to say something about the reliability, because that is what 17029 is all about, say something about the reliability of data that are being published and used in the public domain.
Workshops engage the whole audience, because what you meet with meetings, usually you've got certain engaged people discussing, but workshops really engage everybody in the room, and there's a good exchange and striving for harmonization of certain issues. And that said, the workshops, not just recently, but rather always work of quite some success as it really brings the thoughts together. So what can we say? The most recent examples are, the last one was about impartiality and in relation to connected entities with certification bodies. We had one on effective audits.
There's one on locations, because that is a topic that is quite difficult. How do you deal with locations in your certificate, or how do you deal with it in an audit? How does multi-site always apply, or is it multi-site at all?
So there's all sorts, and when it comes to results of such workshops, well, the first thing we've got usually is presentations by the groups, so we can see what came out of that hour or two of discussions, and then quite often we've got a summary that's presented in the meeting papers, and if necessary, there might be
a paper, yeah, and for instance, we now have an examples paper for the locations one, because that was thought to be useful, but others recently have not really given any papers, but yeah, they were found useful for the people involved to talk and exchange ideas about this.
Yeah, so the exercise itself is
harmonizing.
Some value and harmonizing. Exactly.
Yeah, well, FAQs is questions that are being asked by the members, generally a couple of weeks in advance of each meeting, issues about interpretation of mandatory documents or of standards, or just of practical situations that have resulted in a problem, or questions anyway. Then these questions are being gathered. We have a panel in the EACC of some of the more experienced people that will try and sort of formulate a first answer, and then these first answers are treated in the EACC, and if we can get agreement on them, then we publish them on the EA website.
Recently, we started off in having a bit of a more stricter procedure. So there is a deadline handing in. So it's not just a couple of weeks before the meeting, but several months now, so that we give our review panel enough time to already discuss what the already prepared, and then there might be papers that are turned down because it's not that platform. Maybe they belong to another committee, so we would convey them to somewhere else. So there's certainly a sort of filter before that, so that we see whether it's our responsibility with the CC or whether it belongs somewhere else.
Yeah, plus the added advantage that if you start up a little bit earlier in the process, it means that the answers of the review panel also can be dispersed to the EACC, and it's not just the opinion of the EACC members, but they can actually go back to their own organization and say, oh, they've given this answer, is that answer good enough, or should we? Because sometimes it looks like it's very much the opinion of the individuals in the EACC, and we can avoid that if we are sufficiently in advance with some of the answers. First of all, we make sure that in the EACC and in its working groups that we get good representation in the various working groups of IAF. So we discuss generally what are the upcoming IAF meetings to ensure that we're there and that we can represent the ideas of EA. But the example that you give is a very specific example where we actually try to gather all the ideas, the thoughts about potential suggestions for the revision of 17065 that is upcoming, and to make sure that they are known to the IAF working group that has met here in Montreal.
Yeah, so that will possibly mirror any discussion that will be led around the globe regarding the possibly upcoming revision of this standard. So this will be discussed with the ISO working group when the revision is approved. But it helps the members equally mirroring the discussion at EACC as well as here to prepare themselves what really common practice problems are that might be resolved with the revision.
Yep. Thank you.